Of course you should go. I'm just afraid he's going to turn out to be a creep. I mean, how many times do they turn out to be a perfect match? It will be a fun experience. Don't be so judgmental. If you don't like him, don't go out with him again. Problem solved. Thea got off the phone with her best friend, Lena. Thea and Lena had been friends for the last 3 years at college. And over these 3 years, Lena had a few boyfriends and had been on countless dates to find the right guy. Thea had been there by Lena's side whenever she went through a bad breakup or had an awful date. But over the time she listened to Lena's experiences, she was wise enough to learn from the mistakes of others. Thea had been single for a long time now. She never wanted to get herself tangled up in an awkward situation. She lived on her own in an apartment in Preston, Arizona. Thea had a simple life, waking up to go to college in the mornings and working her part-time job in the evenings. She was happy with her life. But things took a turn ever since Lena got engaged. Thea suddenly felt left out. She got that feeling that she was missing out on something in her life. So Thea thought she would get out there. A few bad dates wouldn't do any harm. She didn't plan on being single forever anyways. Thea scrolled down some options on a dating site. Lena had told her the site was reliable. Although Thea didn't like any of the men the site recommended, she started chatting with a few people. It was just last week that she met a man named Frank online. After chatting with Frank for a few days, Thea thought he was a decent guy with good manners, so when he asked Thea out on a date, she agreed. This was about the 5th time she had confirmed with Lena if she should really go on the blind date or not. Thea was a bit nervous. On Friday night, Thea wore a gorgeous dress and splashed on some perfume. She was supposed to meet Frank at a restaurant about 20 miles away from town. The route to the restaurant was an easy drive. There weren't many twists and turns. Thea had been driving down an empty, narrow road for some time now. Before long, Thea saw some lights bordered along the night sky. She reached the restaurant. She parked her car and called Frank. "I'm here. Where are you?" "I've been waiting for you for some time now. You're late." "Sorry, it took me a while to get ready." "That's all right. I'm sitting at the table at the corner, facing the window." Thea took a deep breath and grabbed her purse. She locked her car and headed into the restaurant. As soon as she went in, she inspected all the tables. There was a man sitting at the table in the corner. Thea walked over to the table. Frank stood up and stretched forth his hand. "Thea?" Thea shook Frank's hand. As the date progressed, Thea was more than disappointed. Frank may have been polite, but he was boring, and honestly, the things he spoke of were a little strange and unusual. "Weren't you afraid to meet me out here? There's not a lot of people living in this area, nor do many people dine at this restaurant." "Should I be afraid? Are you hiding something I should know?" "Well, how can you tell what's going on in a person's mind? They can be lying for all you know." "So you're saying I shouldn't trust you?" The question really should be if you can trust anyone. "Absolutely. For all you know, I could be a serial killer, and you're just another one of my victims. You shouldn't joke about things that could potentially become true. What if it's the other way around?" After some small talk, Thea supposed she'd get to know more about Frank's career and what he wanted to do in life. Frank had told her he worked at a law firm, but that turned out to be a lie. "So where exactly did you say you work? At the BII law firm? I have a few friends there. They might know you." "No, actually, I don't work at a law firm. I didn't want to scare you off, so I told you I was a lawyer." "What were you saying before? About trust? So what is it that you do?" "What do I do? Well, they call me the Undertaker." "I'm not joking. Seriously, what do you do?" Thea asked Frank a couple of times about his profession, but he only laughed and teased her. This guy was a creep. Why was he being so secretive? Thea had told him about herself. Thea sighed. Was there any way she could just leave, or did she have to be polite and sit through this whole date? Frank went on and on as Thea looked around the restaurant. Her eyes caught a young man standing behind the reception. He made eye contact with her and smiled as soon as she looked at him. Thea shied away and turned around, but she couldn't help taking another glimpse to see if he was still looking at her. Throughout her date with Frank, the waiter continued to give Thea flirty glances. The waiter was actually quite attractive. After Frank and Thea finished her dinner, Frank called for the bill. He excused himself and went to the restroom. As Thea waited at the table by herself, the waiter hurried towards her. "Looks like your date was disappointing. Excuse me, were you eavesdropping on us?" No, but a smart and beautiful woman sitting upset at a table, I couldn't help but notice you." "It was a blind date, and it's not going well, unfortunately. If you wouldn't mind, I'll be off my shift in a few minutes. We can catch a movie together." Thea was having second thoughts about Frank. Thea wondered what other things Frank was hiding from her. At least Thea was sure what this guy did for a living. "No, that's all right. I think I'll head home by myself." "By yourself? At this time of the night? Is he really letting you go home alone? If it were me, I would have made sure I dropped my girlfriend home safely." "Have you not heard the news?" "What are you talking about?" "There's a kidnapper out on the loose around here. When I saw your date walk in, I was actually getting a little suspicious." "Why?" 3 people? What did you do with the bodies?" "Get the trunk ready. I'll get the rest of the arrangements when I get there." "Get started right now. We can't keep the bodies like this for long. The locals around here say he goes by the name Undertaker. I'm just warning you. If you wish, I could drop you off home." "That is kind of disturbing to know, but I think I'll be able to get home alone, thanks." Just then, Frank returned from the restroom. After the bill was settled, Thea and Frank went out of the restaurant. They took a small walk. "I enjoyed tonight. It's not often that I go out. Usually most of my dates don't go too well. Maybe we can do this again." Thea noticed the waiter walk out of the restaurant. As Frank spoke, she stared at the waiter wave and smile at her before he went to the parking lot. She remembered what he said. "I don't know, I'm usually very busy with college and work." Suddenly, the look on Frank's face changed. He looked displeased. "So you're just like the other ones. All right, then perhaps this will be the last time we meet." With that, Frank left and Thea walked to her car. She quickly hopped in before Frank changed his mind. When she left the busy area and started driving along the narrow road once again, she felt a little relieved. She would be home soon, and Lena could hear how Thea had escaped the hands of a kidnapper. The night was dark, but all of a sudden, something glared in Thea's side view mirrors. There was a car following her, flashing its headlights. Thea took her car to the side and allowed the driver's space to go ahead, but the driver stayed behind her and moved to her lane. Thea sped up her car. She watched the car behind her from the mirror. Was he following her? She noticed the car sped up as well. He kept close within distance to her. Thea was shocked to recognize Frank's car. This creep was following her. Suddenly, her phone started to buzz in her purse. Thea shrugged and ignored the call. After a while, Frank began flashing his lights once again. Thea began to get a little worried. She didn't want to lead him all the way to her house. Who knows what he had planned for tonight? Maybe she had nearly escaped a horrible fate. When about 10 minutes had gone by and the car was still behind her, Thea took a detour. She planned to confuse Frank and get home as soon as possible. Thea increased her speed. That's when the car started flashing its lights once again. She was relieved when she lost sight of Frank's car. Soon, she drove into her driveway. She took her purse and grabbed her car keys, but just when she went to check her face in the rearview mirror, she saw something move in the back seat. Thea froze. Her heartbeat raised. She slowly turned her head. That's when the realization hit her. There's a commotion at the funeral home. They're asking for the director. There's 3 here. 3 people. What did you do with the bodies? We need you here for the embalming process. Get the trunk ready. I'll get the rest of the arrangements when I get there. Please hurry. The family members need counseling. Get started right now. We can't keep the bodies like this for long. Why isn't she stopping her car? Thea, stop the car. Look behind you. There's someone in the back seat. Pick up your phone, Thea. I think I have to call the police. Thea was horrified. Frank was flashing his headlights so she would check her back seat. He was trying to save her. Get out before I call the police. Go ahead. It's too bad you won't be able to say anything. They're never able to say anything. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.